like we did last time.
No, it's gonna be a conversation, but just know you're
Knock
leading.
it off. Me and me and face me and Facebook finna have it out.
Why we fighting?
Technology altogether.
Oh, come. You know something?
What
What
happened?
up
What are
to
you seeing?
everybody on YouTube, Facebook? We are having loving and appreciating you right now. But that's where our audience, a lot of our audience is. So keep trying to make this work. All right. Even though I said this already. All right. Cancel. Go away. All right. We're live on YouTube
Hi,
and we are
YouTube.
not hello live on Facebook because Facebook wouldn't let me press the like hi. I promise I'll have a better description in the description thing. There we go. Go live. Go live. Look, check it out. I think that deserves another cheer.
Let's cheer it up. I think we working through all the technical difficulties.
I just
There we go.
I just discovered. Look, what tell our audience to stop clapping so loud.
I see us. We're live on Facebook, live on YouTube.
I
There
just
we
want
go.
wait. I just want everybody to know I just discovered that we effects inside of this program. And so I'm like a kid in the candy store playing with all of these things. Um
Just
I
no
think I said
blowhorn.
this the very first time we went live. I really do appreciate people who do this because it gets on my nerves every time we do it. I like every time. It just never works the way. Anyway, trauma survivors, trauma supporters, we are very excited. I'm although I am the host of the Controversy Podcast, I am not hosting today's live conversation. We as a team, those of you who follow know that it's just me working on the Controversy Project. We have a very strong team of very gifted, very people. And in our meetings, we've been talking a lot about what we're going to do next, what would be impactful. And doing, we started a conversation amongst ourselves that we thought would be beneficial to have out loud. And so conversation that, inside. Today we're going to have it with the public and hope that you will engage with us. So I am going to turn it over to my sister and Michelle. If you could explain to the crew like what happened that made this a topic we had to talk about even before we even jump down into it, because I think that alone is a conversation that needs to be had. But I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to kind of facilitate the rest of this conversation.
All right, our TSS family, we are here today because I was triggered. I was really triggered by the social media response by mainly the Black community to Robert Kelly serving time. And I've kind of put him in the back of my mind. I don't think about him often, but when they were saying, he might spend 10 years to life in jail, and so many people's reaction was, well, they should lock up the parents, or what are we going to do about these fast ass girls? And my heart was just like, something about this response just doesn't sit well with me. And because I have been in a situation when I was 17 years old, dating a 28-year-old man, I wasn't trying to be a fast ass girl. That wasn't what I was going into the situation trying to do. I was looking for love for what I'm thought, right? And so I think Robert Kelly is one who is in social media so much, but there are so many instances where we see older men with very young girls. And so that really, really triggered me. And I think we really need to have a conversation about the statutory rape laws that we have in our country, and how we can do something about them. So that was what sparked this whole thing.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we recognized was Mental Health Awareness Day. And
Yes.
I've been excited since we started our project. So I feel like, one of the things that excited all of us to do this work is, I mean, if you are breathing pandemic, you or someone has faced mental health challenges, right? And that is not a new thing, but I think it is a new thing that people are talking about it. So in the spirit of, mental health awareness, mental health awareness day tomorrow, I think it's important to have a conversation not just about these triggers, right? Because Michelle can acknowledge, hey, this bothered me enough that I wanted to talk about it, right? So recognition that it bothered you, B,
Yeah.
recognition that you needed to talk about it. And then I also think that in that whole situation, we have ignored some mental health issues with these victims that, has a focus on Robert. And I mean, yeah,
Right.
there's a whole lot we could say about him, but what about the girls? And so I'm gonna give it back to you. Let's dig in.
So I okay. I'm gonna take it way, 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 way back, and I hate to bring up Aaliyah, may she rest in peace, but she was 15 years old when she was married to Robert, and I think about what
Married.
her I think about what her mentality could have been back then, and I think about at 15 years old, who was my crush? Who, if they approached me, would I have been head over heels, done anything for? And at 15 years old, I'm put in a position where I have to make a choice that I'm thinking is a great choice because this is somebody I look up to, this is somebody I adore, and he's okay with it as a
Wait, and
grown man.
Michelle, and a bridge to do the thing that you really, really, really want to do, right? Which
Right,
that relationship would have been weird if it was its own thing. But now you've got this aspiring singer, performer, whatever, and this person is the bridge to your success.
right, correct. So it just feels like the whole situation feels really uneasy to me. And then I just think about, like I said, her mental space about that. And then after her parents did get the marriage annulled, and it was said to never be spoken about again. And if she didn't speak about that trauma, how much it affected her up until her death, right? And I'm thankful for controversy because we get to talk about these kind of issues, and we get to, express ourselves about it. But it's just like, can you imagine what the victims are really going through? Even if they were consensual, right? Even if they said, yeah, I'm all in. We're talking about kids. And kids shouldn't have to make that choice with adults.
Yeah.
So what do we do about that?
Yeah, man. I look, really interesting conversations about the whole thing. And I remember when the second documentary was getting ready to come out, or season 2 of the documentary, right?
Mm,
And a conversation having with one of my cousins. And at first I felt some kind of way about it, right? But then I thought about it and I realized that this is where the tension of a lot of people's opinion about what happened starts to get a little, strange, in that his feelings were not victim shaming, right? But it did become this, well, why people speaking about it now? Or why did they stay quiet for this long? Or why all of a sudden is this, right? And there all of these things that disagree with, they all have merit, right? There's merit to
mhm.
some of those arguments, right? Yes, the parents did make some bad decisions. They did put their kids in an unhealthy situation. Yes, these girls also did put themselves out of, but that does not really address the power dynamic, right? One of the things that we talked about when we first started exploring this conversation was, well, why is it that teachers can't
Hmm.
sleep with their kids? Right? When you start thinking about elementary, high school, it's a real big deal. When you think
Well,
about college, right? Then people's
mhm.
opinion gets a little askew. But it's really just the power, the problem, right? Why is this any different? This man had power and position and things that these girls did not have access to. Does that matter?
100% that matters. But I can't let the age part go. Like, that's the part that really, really triggers me. Like, yeah, okay, if what I looked up recently about the age of consent across
Okay.
the United States. And over 30, I don't think it was like 32 states said 16 years old is the age of consent. And then in the
Woo.
other states, it was like 17 and 18. But there are loopholes in that as well, because you can, in the state of New Jersey, you can be 13 and give consent to someone who's 17. And again, we got that power dynamic.
Yeah, that's blurry, man.
It's real blurry. And my thing is, if we can set laws for cigarettes, we can set laws for alcohol. Why can't we set a standard law for the age of consent? And that age should be at least 18.
Mm. So I'm just gonna put it out there. While I agree with you, I think that we are in a such a toxic political environment, right?
Ugh.
That the argument for standardized laws like that get lost in politics, right? So it's no longer a conversation about what's the best way to keep kids safe, right? Because at the heart of what we're talking about, the question is what's the best way to keep kids safe, and having a
Right.
standard, age of consent would help that, right? That's at least our argument. I think in this environment we're in right now, there you would create arguments like my freedom to choose. Well, the government should, well, like all of the stuff that is nonsensical, right? But people feel the way they feel, and these that are being pointed at healthcare is being pointed. I mean, all these other things. So how can we have
I
a real conversation about it?
I understand that in the history of the world, pedophilia has been a thing. I know it has happened from the beginning of time. It's been happening.
Right.
But at some point, we have to say it's not right. It's not okay for a grown man to be with a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year old. It's not okay.
So
And
so
that's
okay,
male or female.
This, and I know you, so I know your comfortability talking about hard stuff.
Yeah.
When you're 17,
Yeah.
dating a 28-year-old person, right?
Yeah.
Talk about
Dating.
what in your head made that okay, right? What we tend to do is judge the behavior of these victims because we don't understand what's going on
100%.
behind the scenes, right? We don't understand that. So if I am your parent and you 18-year-old girl that you are dating or even talking to with any level of seriousness, some 28-year-old dude, I'm ready to strangle both of you, right? That's parent
100%. Right.
that's parent me. But mental health struggle with thoughts and feelings in me understands that differently. So what do you think allowed you into that situation in the first place?
All right. I'll start from the mostly the beginning. I was 14 years old when I met him.
Mm,
We just said hi, just little small chit chat, and it was gone. I never really thought anything about it. When I became 17, he approached me in a different way. And I mean literally like on my birthday, like 17. And he says,
intent.
I've been watching you since you were 14. And something about that, like it made me feel flattered. Like I was like, oh shit. I must be doing something right.
Yep.
And my father never knew. So in a situation where we talk about the parents should have, my dad worked the third shift at his job. So my dad would leave the house and so would I. And I would be home before he got home. So he didn't know what was going on. He couldn't
What you were
protect me
doing.
from that situation. And I'm
Yep.
thinking, this grown man, he has been waiting for me. He's waited
Waiting.
3 years. He waited 3 years
I
for
am
me.
special enough.
I am so special. That's what
Ooh.
that mentality was. I thought, like, out of all the girls in the hood, you chose me. What?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
it was definitely a manipulation that I didn't see. I didn't see it. And I fell in love with this man because he knew how to manipulate the situation. And I was just putty in his hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so it wasn't until I went to Florida Memorial for college that we broke up. And I say relationship, we didn't go on dates. We weren't really seen in public together. Not for real. So it wasn't really dating. If but to me, this was my man. And you couldn't
Yeah.
tell me nothing different.
So the pressure of the way he approached you, right? With the confidence of knowing that you wouldn't be able to see through that. That goes exactly to, when I first heard, oh, this, sex ring and everybody's enslaved. Like when I first thinking this sounds ridiculous. And then you watch the documentary and go, well, this is completely plausible.
Mhm.
Why? Listen to what Michelle just said. And we're not even talking about that level of power dynamic. Like,
Right.
this man wasn't offering Michelle her dream.
Nope.
This man wasn't offering wanted in life. Can you imagine? Let's go back to that crush. Look, when you asked me and Jamal, I was like, I think it's Tyra Banks. I can't remember 15 who I was crushing on like that. But I wanted to be a model, right? Not a because she wasn't. And I um,
Is he out? Well, I'm gonna pick up. I don't know what's happening, but yes, if, at it's 15, 16, 17 years old. If that's celebrity, Brandon, you here, babe? Jamal, can you hear him? I don't even see your picture anymore, love.
And
I can hear you. One, can you hear me?
Uh-oh. Oh, well, I can hear you, Jamal. And looking at the live, I see me and you. So Jamal, we haven't heard from you, bruh.
Okay.
Who was your crush?
In terms of crush, Janet Jackson was probably that I could have followed any direction that she might have given me at that particular time. But one of the things that I wanted to also add to this discussion, and again, R. Kelly and everything that's going on, surrounding his situation and the unfortunate victims have been the subject of conversation for the last, what? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that he is not
one of the things that we have to about
30 states that say the age of consent is 16. Why are not chosen one standard age? There's no common denominator that links why the age of consent varies, right? Why do we have the ability to
do different things depending upon if
cross state lines? I mean, even if with R. Kelly and Aaliyah, unfortunately, forged documents. So there's a whole list with that, right? But forging that those documents at 16, ridiculous, disgusting, horrible, horrific, but just an anomaly. Right now, American community, because we've had him, his music, the things that he's done in an artistic fashion, right? Right, can't just get out of our head because when we heard them, right? But again, let's flip this switch now. You also have persons like Jeffrey Epstein, and if anyone has had the opportunity to even view his passing, a lot of it is the same. You can tell it's the so one, even going back for an older man to say he, that means he had not only his eye on your family situation, he knew and studied where he really make his move, right?
Right.
These
the gap. Right. 100%.
If we just look at the basic premise of a predator, how to approach him from this direction versus this, give you the best shot to be able to in their most in right. We look at predators in the wild, they're always going to look for the quote unquote most vulnerable or the youngest of the pack to go after. They're not go after the male or the lead female.
Right.
one, here are some factors. Here are some red flags that we as families within our households and within our community circles, we have to look for these things. That's the only way that we can protect our young women and our young men. Because let's not
act like
right
not happen. And we definitely can
jump to some
if you will.
Yeah,
this is a situation that they'll be and on as a why there's a of teenage pregnancy, large differences between the age groups.
Mm-hmm.
Thing to keep in line.
Well, and then you have a lot of families or communities that that fact because of various reasons.
Yeah.
What have you, or this is a male trying to protect. Why are we trying to protect these people?
Stop. Why are we protecting the predator? Why are we doing that? And so many families I know personally have done it. My own family have protected predators within our family, and we continue to say that it's okay. And we say, oh, that's Uncle so-and-so. Like, but we're not protecting our kids from Uncle so-and-so by getting him the help that he needs. How is that okay?
We're just addressing the fact that
there's a problem. So, willing to just say, okay, well, this isn't. No, not the we don't want to snitch. We don't want to. No. Is a mental health barrier in and of itself, because unfortunately dealt with right. Should there be a children are ever approached or listen, I will gladly do every day to that individual. There will be
right.
This. Do you understand? There would not have been a way that of any of those victims. I don't give a damn if it is. I would have been waiting outside of a bodyguard that could have stood
right
for them to stop the rain of bullets or anything. Protective mentality from men in regards to the American community. I'm speaking of especially here in the U.S. The amount of those in the I think it's just, oh, we're snatching up and rounding up persons and throwing them in the back of a van.
It doesn't even have to
you have people that literally, just by sake of bringing young women and young men in the midst of others that they know have this predatory instinct, that they know have affinity for young men and young. Mostly the reason of the fact that they know that they can tap into areas of their lives that may be void of that protection, and you're off a way that person does not know how to turn down, right? And I'm sure, and I want you to talk about it if you feel comfortable. Says looking back, some of those red flags or instances that you can identify now, being one older, being in what are some of the red flags or factors that you can look back and see and say, you know what? that other families should look out for as well?
Looking back on the red flags, I think it was partially that I was a loner kid. Like I met this guy. It was at the recreational center in my neighborhood. And I was the kid who was always by herself. Like I didn't hang out with the crowd. And I think that put a target on my back. For many situations, honestly. And so you saying, what did you just said? It was like the predator is looking for the weakest link. And my self-esteem was quite low back then. I wasn't walking in the royalty that I'm walking in right now. And my self-esteem was quite low. So when he said to me, I've been watching you for 3 years, like it made me feel special. It made me feel like, I got his attention, right? And so it was easy. And if for many, many, many years, I did not see anything wrong with that situation. It was consensual. I willingly put myself in that. And for many years, I thought it was okay until it was just like, I was a child. He was a grown man. That should not have happened. Period, point blank. Even if it was me throwing myself at him, even if it was me being that fast ass little girl, even if it was that situation, a grown person who's in their right frame of mind should tell a child, no. Girl, stop playing with me. Go over there. Girl, you're doing too much. A grown person with the right mentality would not have let that shit been okay. So yes, I was a victim, right. And I told my homegirl, I was like, girl, you know what? I don't like to play the victim card. And she's like, it's not a card to play, it's real. And I'm like, yeah, but people play the victim card. I don't want to play that card. And I can see how people, I'm about to say something that I don't even 100% like, this is going to disturb my spirit. I can see how people can take the side of the predator because it's a mental illness that he's not dealing with either, that he thinks is okay, that he's been allowed to get away with. And so he does what he does. So the therapy is needed on both sides.
But sis, I think let's
That's good.
Let's get into that real quick.
If we look at the R. Kelly situation, right? And we, earlier in the week, we posted the Boondocks, the clip of the mock trial, if you will, and the reaction to a lot. Shout out to Aaron Magruder. That was not
something that he just, put
together. That actually happened. Victims of his that were outside signs in support of him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There were many adult because of his music and the different things that and again, we do not want to merge in situations during that time frame. American males, entertainment, and that had been targeted in attempts to tear down their character and so forth. This was not one of.
This was not
Targeted R. Kelly because impactful way to tear down this black. This was a predator who, even ultimate arrogance, recorded various. We saw them in fashion,
and I
thought primarily
for in terms
entertainment, right? It almost pains me to say that top 3 favorite songs of his. I think that
moment,
knowing that had one of those victims been my daughter, R. Kelly would have died at my hands. So why have we, even as the public, as the community, as his fans, for various years, there literally had to be a documentary on the very vulgar acts and the many, not just 2 or 3, actually made it to public. The many, victims that he affected. Why did it have to get to that point?
And that speaks directly to what you just said, sis.
Whatever reason, avoid in our lives, filled it,
or what?
Art, and we just said,
nah,
nobody that could write a song could do that. Nobody that could write a song, I Believe I Can Fly, that is so uplifting. Nobody, there's no way he did that. Everybody he ain't did that. A lot of these people is lying. This is literally what I know a lot of his fan base has been saying, and still probably saying to this day to an extent. And it's unacceptable.
Wait. How can he has been telling us age ain't nothing but a number. He don't see nothing with no people. He's been telling us that shit since the early 90s. And we have been just letting that shit go. So because he makes 1, 2 positive songs, all that other shit's supposed to go out the window? No. So wait. I'll be honest.
Donald John Trump, and I don't even like saying his name out loud, but it is what it is. Donald John Trump told us the reason we allowed R. Kelly to get away with it, right? There is something not okay about the way we place celebrity on a different level.
Right.
When you are famous, they'll let you get away with it, right? If R. Kelly wasn't R. Kelly, would we have the same reaction to the same behavior? Most people, not all, most people would say absolutely not, right? Joe Blow from down the street doing the exact same thing R. Kelly did, but for the hits, would be under the jail. They would burn down his house with him inside of it. But there is something.
The man calls himself the Pied Piper, luring little children with him.
Bro, can I be honest? Can I be honest and say, when he first started saying that foolishness, I didn't even know what that meant.
I teach kindergarten.
You find out what it means, and you go,
I'm a kindergarten teacher.
Like, oh, look, let me grab my pearls. Oh, God.
and let me be clear, same kind of like WTF moment when I first read the actual story, right? Because see, this is the thing,
something in plain sight,
watch things, and exactly, and there's some story, the understanding of when you dig into really. I'm sorry, did you just say that? And did you say that with a level of arrogance and in such a in our like things that we as not a culture, society, we have mental health. This is why, because when our mental health as a society is unstable, we turn to things such as this. This is who are close in a fashion to do something about it.
Right.
Do about it, but keep buying.
Right, but keep dancing to me,
Whatever it
bragging
is.
about.
Like,
exactly. Again, when we talk about R. Kelly and the Jeffrey Epsteins and the various people, and again, people use Google and how it can. You sit.
I just posted the link.
Men and women within the last 20 years that have done these types of things, right?
That
who have come from and very vulnerable situations. They have had the power and the resources to be it financial, putting them in a position to be in a i.e. music. You know, I'm an aspiring. If I get next to R. Kelly, it's only possible. But what are the things you have to do to get next to R. Kelly, right? And then also looking at people of power, how they're protected by a higher circle.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think we also. Yeah, we can hear you. But I was saying, Jamal, as you was talking, I was thinking of just about, this whole celebrity thing, right? And I'm not gonna say we, because I'm gonna distance myself from this comment. Society idolizes a lot of human beings.
Yeah.
And if we want to take it just, biblically, and our Bible tells us we're not supposed to have no other gods before our Heavenly Father. But we idolize the Kardashians, and we idolize the Robert Kellys, and we idolize too many celebrities, placing them up on this pedestal, giving them rights and freedoms that they should not have. And we as a society, we just have to stop doing that, because it's really, really dangerous.
Wait, but okay, so how do we do that when social media, when pop culture, when all of the things that we consume are designed to fuel that, right? That's the whole argument right now about social media, about Instagram. It's the same idea. We look at the success that these celebrities have, and then we want it so bad that we're willing to do questionable things to attain it. So, I mean, if you watch the documentary, you hear even the adult women who say, "I stuck around because my career." Going on, but my career, right? Because then it goes, well, do I give up everything I ever wanted, everything that I've worked for, in order to try to take down this dude who's got enough resources to squash me? Right?
How do you sleep
I'm
at
not
night?
judging that decision. I'm just saying.
How do you sleep at night knowing what's going on is going on, and you're okay with it because you don't want to lose your change, you don't want to lose your money or your popularity status? How are you okay with that?
Look,
where is your soul?
I think these kinds of brain issues can be super duper complicated, right? Because that question is so valid, but I think that question is the same as, why are you staying with him when he beating you upside your head? Why are you going back into this environment that is unsafe for you, right? It's the same. Like, people struggle and they cope ways. And I try in this situation not to judge the people that are making what I think are terrible decisions and explore behind it. And there's always something behind it that most of us will choose to either ignore or judge. And that's the wrong way to look at this very complicated group of circumstances.
I hear that.
Let me ask this question real quick. Let me ask this question. What do y'all think is the difference between viewpoint altered of Michael Jackson versus his allegations? Because both of them had these allegations for a number. And this is something that I was thinking in preparation this week for this. And says that I see, and again, in truth, were Caucasian males, Caucasian adolescent males.
Ding on the head.
Yeah. How society attacked my with far less proof, right? Like that, there were never any tapes or recordings. There were never any tapes or recordings.
Because he ain't
urinating on any of these young males, right? But we have full videos. Right, but we got full videos of R.Kelly that he's done these things. Like, you're not finna, I'm not going through pixel by pixel trying to his left hip that matches. No, Negro, that's you. Okay. You. So why is it that we're gonna start handing out slices of this pie of the as society? We have to take it, man. This is when we as an African American culture have to look at this and say, okay, how come these young Caucasian males had more community and more social support for them than our young African American women? And who's to blame for that? Everybody can take a stand and say that question.
Let's start there. Let's start there. Black Lives Matter. Do they? We could start.
Black women are not protected in our society. Black women are not protected in our society. We see it over and over and over again. Come on. Like,
that's a big part of the conversation. Big part of the conversation. Like, I think, I don't know. That's a really good question. There's so many differences in Michael and Robert, right? One, the most obvious one, like you said, we ain't had no tapes of Mike, right? And Michael's music didn't broadcast his sin. So it's easier, right? It's easier to have that artist versus art conversation about Michael. I don't really know what happened behind the scenes. And B, his music in general, like his body puts me in a different place. If you go, like, I'm not one of the people that went and deleted all my Robert Kelly music, right? But if I play the music right now, I can't unhear you can't, like, okay, I could step in the name of love, but baby, you cannot unhear 12 play. You can't unhear age ain't nothing but you can't, like, separate, because it was so blatant, right? It was so obvious that we chose to ignore it then. If you ignore it now, like, and Michael just didn't have those kinds of moments. I mean, I don't know if y'all brought it up while I was fighting to get my technology together, but we had talked briefly about the difference between Bill Cosby. Maybe I'm still watching the Cosby Show, loud and proud, and not excusing what clearly happened, right? Not excusing that at all. But once again, does not ask the behind the scenes seeing. Like, as a musician, I have gone through music history classes, and it's a ton of classical music composers that had some fucked up stuff going on in life. And we do not know celebrating their music. So it's one of those very delicate dances, but I think that it completely depends on what the presentation of the art was. You know what I mean? Like that video. So did we talk about the timing? Because did y'all talk about the timing of Chocolate Factory with all of these allegations?
No, we didn't.
Because that goes of Robert and his team. Okay. I did not realize until watching.
That genius. I call that a mental cover up.
Well, okay. Look, I cannot deny with the information I have that it was an intentional cover up. I just think it was a good one because we have seen some bad cover ups in our time. The timing of Chocolate Factory was genius. He was like, "Oh, y'all want to put me in jail? Now step in the name of love." And we was all like, "Oh, Robert, you can do whatever." Dude, that who else can do that?
But the thing is,
no one should be able to do it.
I agree with you, but he did it.
And unfortunately, at that time, we were not willing to sacrifice our love of his art.
Yes.
For justice, right? We were not willing to say, okay, screw your album, first off, because you ain't the only R&B singer out.
Is nowhere near more important than what is going on
with our youth. Again, during this trial, there were adolescent young women of various cultures on the front line outside of the courtroom protesting and picketing in his favor. Now, let's just look at the vulnerability there, where that's when we start looking at, okay, wait, where the parents? I'm sorry, this trial was going on during school days and everything. Like, why you ain't in school? What are you doing down there with signs picking and foot? Hold up. What are we doing? The freedoms, the freedoms that we allow children and youth to have these days. Why to R. Kelly's music at this particular time? Like the fact to say this is inappropriate. This is not for you.
And we are not going to allow this
more in the household. Because here's the thing: we can talk all day about how horrific these,
how disgusting it is. Conversation.
There has to be right? How do we begin
strengthen our families and our households? What are we going to do? I have a older daughter. Okay, my daughter is 5'9", and so her walking through the streets, not doing through the streets because we're in place by herself, but I'm just saying her being of that heightened stature, a gorgeous young lady. These types of predators, this is what put in my state.
So is looking one
as a licensed firearm owner.
Well, the times is different in that in itself. When I was 14, 15,
like that.
But
no
things as a father that I need to impart upon her.
But I was saying the times are different. 14, 15, back in the day, we walked up and down the street. We went wherever we wanted, and it was like, all I had to do was be home before the street lights came on. Right? The kids now, they are a whole lot more protected than we ever were. But it's also that conversation. There's also that conversation that has to be had, because I was also that rebellious child. You tell me what I'm not supposed to do and don't believe me, just watch. It was just like, I'm gonna do it just because you said I couldn't or I shouldn't. So we also have to make sure we're having open conversations and that our kids are honestly hearing what we're trying to say and believe that we're doing it for their well-being. But everybody ain't in that situation. We have all elevated from where we started from. We have all elevated from where we started from. But the 14-year-old Michelle and the girl who still lives in Dale Street in Alexandria, Virginia, in that same hood right now, she's not being protected like that. She doesn't have that protection. And if she finds it on the street, who's to tell her she's wrong about it?
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, like, one of the things that the three of us understand in this conversation that I think a lot of people observing who got caught up in the Kelly thing need to understand is the impact of childhood traumas, right? The stuff that we don't talk about, the stuff that we don't deal with, that kids just see. Where I am in my life now, and the research that I'm doing now, and all of that helps me look back at things that back in our day, we look, you just get over it. Look, you
Right.
just keep moving and you just be strong. But we didn't take, into consideration the impact in our brains, in the undeveloped brain, of these hard, difficult, stressful, traumatic experiences, and how our decision making, our risk avoidance, our all of the things that the average free thinking person would be like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Well,
Right.
is that a exposure, frequent exposure to trauma at these young ages, it messes up our ability to see these things properly. So, 14-year-old you who has experienced trauma versus 14-year-old me who hasn't, we're going to see
Right.
these opportunities so differently, right? So has to be a part of the conversation, because one of the things that frustrated me was like, well, how do these girls just, put themselves in that situation? Look, man, the same way these athletes see playing ball as the only way out of the hood, where they don't watch their homies die and they don't watch people see music and entertainment in that same way, right? And you don't know what kind of trauma they were running from in order to run to more trauma.
Wow.
And it's all picture.
That's it right there, B.
And is that, there's a given way of weighing out your option, the potential for some form of running from. And, what am I willing potentially engage in or accept to get ultimately to whatever I might be looking for, whatever I feel is life that I need. Yep. Right. Whether or not it's by individual and their resources and their actions different from drug seeking behavior, right? Ultimately, you're trying to fill this void. The accessibility to, in a lot of, right? Because health is so important. There are women that that these R. Kelly victims had, they just didn't have the R. Kelly was not put in their midst.
Right.
But I'm sure they
may have been in their midst was that they had then turned to, and then in order things that they might have subjected themselves to, all very similar, is How can we protect our youth? How can we best educate them? Are we doing a good enough job of that? It starts in the household. Well, we have to stop saying what we don't have the ability. We as parents, we got different things going on, yes, but there our goal to make sure that we allot enough nurture our youth and that we do a better job, right? When we talk about aunts and uncles, kids, or said you need to handle, and can you fully trust what's going or look at?
Right.
You have to be willing to answer those questions. It can't just be I left my child in daycare because I had to.
But I hear you, but then I also hear like everybody not in the same situation that we in. Everybody don't have the same education and wisdom that we have. So we can teach, yes, 100%. We can educate our children, but it's bigger than that. I got to go back to the rec that I used to go to where I was preyed upon so that I can help educate those kids. It's bigger than just my own two children. If I'm not reaching further back because their parents are working and don't have the time and are leaving them at the rec or in somebody else's hands who might not be safe because they think that's the best they can do. I can't just say, oh, well, I moved out the hood into suburbia and my kids are good.
Yeah.
If I'm not going back to the hood to help the hood will always be the hood. And that cycle will keep happening over and over and over.
So this is where our mission really to fruition, because you sure do. But like this is where we I'm just saying, you know, we have to address our own trauma, right? Michelle's point of giving back, right? We have to be willing to keep, as one of I not only about myself but just y'all's story, you know, interviewing on the show, all of that is number one. You can't help anybody until you have helped yourself, right? So you've got to show saying like I had to acknowledge, you were a victim. That's not a bad word. That shows strength. Something that other people have not endured, right? So you've got to acknowledge that, and then you have to acknowledge it with such a desire to eradicate it, to do something to help somebody else. And those are two, you know, look, they're two different skills. Everybody ain't gonna get it. All of that is true. But to Jamal's point, we do have to start at home. Like one of the things, like anybody who was listening to my show know I love my daddy. I learned so much from him. But we were not a talking household. There were hard conversations we did not have. So grown version of me didn't learn how to have hard conversations when I needed to because it wasn't modeled. Why do I bring that up? You've got to talk to your kids first, have hard conversations around them, have hard conversations with them so that when they are struggling, they will come to you. Because otherwise, they will find their solution someplace. Robert Kelly. Like, you know, we've got that safe environment and not just assume it's going to be there. Because that, for me, was the shock. I grew up in a loving household. Learned how to talk about hard stuff. I mean, I lost family members, you know, my mama died, my grandmama died. Nobody sat me down and talked to me about grief. We just took it to the Lord in prayer. And I'm not crapping on that, but that didn't teach 10, 11-year-old child how to deal with
Right.
hard stuff. So, we've got to look at the small impact we can make in our house, and then we can say, okay, these are the larger things that we can do. Because I agree, if I didn't think we needed to do something bigger, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, right? I think that we've all experienced these kinds of things so that we can share it with others, and we can help them. But somebody listening to us ramble on, not feel like they want to do nothing for other folks, and that's cool. Heal, please go get
Right.
but you know the I can't remember the scripture now because I'm talking all fast, but there's a scripture that says, once you have been healed, then you need to go and strengthen your brother. I forget what's podcast episode I mentioned that. You That's the responsibility, that's the cost of getting yours. go
Right.
help somebody, even if it's just your kids. Help somebody with the
Equal.
information you've got.
And that's what we strive, as educators. I teach in a different environment than I did when I was in Atlanta, Georgia. But as educators, we say if we could just reach just one, if we could just reach and impact just one, we could save just one. We want to save at least one. But if we can make an
But it's so
even bigger
true.
impact and we can save many, if we can save many, that's what we want to do. As many as we possibly can.
Michelle, as an educator, I know you know this, but when you say it, that alone is the fuel that you need to
For
keep
sure.
trying, to keep going. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? I am still my very first job, right? My very as an educator was in high school, and I am still in contact with my just one. And the stuff she has lived through, the challenges that she called, the hardships. I mean, there was a time in the adult life where she was just like, "Dang, you was depressed and dealing with all of that, and I was calling you with my drama, and you were helping me."
Yeah,
Like, because that's what educators do. They just give.
that's what we
How
do.
can we all take that mentality and put it out there so
Yeah,
that the world can live free and not just
100%.
small group? But these schools, man, when I think about the fact that Robert used to hang out outside of Kenwood, like,
Right.
but
And we
as
talked
somebody
about
who
at
has
Florida
taught in that
Memorial, right?
environment,
Freshman year, we talked about the seniors at Florida Memorial who would hang out in front of the freshman dorm, right? And
right,
that was even a different level. But we knew that ain't right. Why these
right.
seniors out here hanging in front of the freshman dorm? They're looking for some fresh
Why
meat.
these 20
Why are they grown
somethings
men
looking
hanging
for
out in
these
front of the high school?
18-year-olds?
Go somewhere. Y'all silly. So it's 10:30 in my time zone, y'all, and I gotta get ready for work in the morning. But so what do we want to leave people with? As mental health
Just
day is tomorrow. What is this
I,
call
I
of action we asking
I would
for?
say I would say from my standpoint, like, we need to extend to people the same grace that we want extended to us, right?
100%.
Hard situations. Most of them were doing the best they could with the information, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
we all need to learn to heal. Right? My
right.
job is not to judge your struggle. My job is not to judge your situation. It's to help if I can help. It is to prevent it for those I can prevent it around. You know what I mean? But it ain't to look at you some kind of way because I'm not struggling with what you struggling with. That is so bloody ridiculous. I think COVID has helped us realize that we all have challenges, difficulty, mental health, something, right?
You're
And
right.
if we can just take that awareness into some of these situations, we would see all of these situations. So stop judging and just be some kind of support, even if it's just throwing a resource at people like, hey, this worked for me, try it. If that's it, that's it. But let's stop judging each other, because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And stress and all of those things that we tried to play down, they are real,
Yeah.
especially for these kids. They real. That I think that's what, like, let's figure out a way to attack mental health challenges head on without the judgment, because that's not going to help people.
The main things that I would, don't ignore the red flags, right? When we see the areas of vulnerability that some of our
Just me.
predators can, and we thinking, oh, those are just grown, find a way out of it. Involved, be engaged, be understanding, have those hard conversations. And as the generations go, we're with our youth than maybe that were had with us, right? But we have to have them, because otherwise, that is the only way that we can help to prevent a lot of the various forms of trauma that our youth, and just us as a culture. Because again, he didn't just prey on youth that were broken, those voids, because he for them. So again, broken children grow into broken. You try to fill those voids with as many positive things, and only those issues in real time. That would be my main.
And I guess I'll
Shell?
keep it real short. I'll keep it real short. And I think if nothing else, as a mother, as a kindergarten teacher, I say protect our children.
Amen.
Protect our children. And even we think, our teenagers have it figured out. They don't. They don't. They still need advice. They still need encouragement. Even though when they fighting you, that they're rebelling against you, they're turning away, they want to do their own thing. I know, because I was that kid. Hug them, love on them, teach them, show them, talk to them. And I think just as a society as a whole, we just need to do a better job of protecting our children.
I love it. Michelle, I just want to say thank you to you. You sparked this dialogue.
Agreed.
I think not only is the topic relevant, but some of the content that we got into, I hope it was helpful to some of you watching this in whatever time of day you come across it. Please, by all means, like, share, comment, let us know what you thought, contribute to the conversation in any way. And we're just gonna keep supporting mental health awareness all day tomorrow. And really, because it's our mission, this is just what we gonna do. But I just want to encourage somebody out there to do something to either educate yourself or someone around you about mental health issues, because
Yeah.
it's a real thing and we all need help in some way, shape, form, or fashion. No matter what time zone you're in Abu Dhabi, it is night. In Maryland, DC, where you live now. Maybe you don't want people to know. Anyway,
It's all the same.
wherever Jamal is
On the
living.
on the East Coast.
I was like, maybe he don't want people looking for him like that. Wherever he lives, it is afternoon and it is pushing late morning here. So thank you guys for your time, attention. Thank you for fighting through all of our technical issues. One of these days, we're gonna figure out how to not have them. Y'all have a great one. Peace.
Peace. Love y'all.
Let me end all videos in there. YouTube, where you at? I'm gonna cut you off now. Deuces. In and Riverside.